When we picture World War II soldiers, we imagine standard-issue rifles, boots, and rations. But, beneath the surface of every military force was a shadow world of improvised, unofficial, and often banned gear. Some of these items were so controversial, dangerous, or honestly morally questionable that carrying them could result in a court-martial, even in the middle of a war. And here's the shocking part. Many of these items are still illegal or heavily restricted in 2025, some because they're deadly, others because they cross ethical lines, and a few because they blur the boundaries between survival and brutality. Today, we uncover 7 World War II objects soldiers secretly carried, why they were banned, and why most of them are still forbidden today. The knuckle duster trench knife, especially the model 1918 variants. Even though trench warfare had mostly faded after World War I, many World War II soldiers wanted a brutal close-quarters weapon. The old model 1918 trench knife, with brass knuckles and a triangular, stabbing blade, became a secret favorite. So, why was the trench knife actually banned? Well, the main reason is that its triangular blade created wounds that were almost impossible to treat. Several militaries saw this as a violation of the laws of war. Honestly, unauthorized possession could even result in punishment or confiscation. Even today, knuckle duster knives remain banned or seriously restricted in the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, the European Union, and, many Asian nations too. That's because they actually combine 2 prohibited weapons, knuckles and stabbing blades. Plus, modern militaries also forbid non-issue knives, just to be clear. Homemade zip guns and improvised pistols were kind of a last resort. Frontline troops would often scavenge whatever materials they could find to build these crude single-shot pistols, or even tiny shot launchers. Partisans, resistance fighters, and, sometimes just bored soldiers built zip guns using scrap pipes, nails, and springs. So, why were these improvised guns actually banned? Well, for starters, they could literally explode in the user's hand, which is, obviously super dangerous. They also bypassed any kind of military oversight and didn't have serial numbers, making them basically untraceable. And, some of these zip guns ended up being used for unauthorized executions or traded on the black market. These days, unregistered homemade firearms are illegal under international arms agreements and, honestly, most national gun laws too. Even the simplest improvised weapon can land you with felony-level charges, so it's definitely not something to mess around with. The British SOE came up with these sneezing gas capsules, tiny chemical ampules designed to incapacitate guards without actually killing them. They'd trigger violent sneezing, choking, tearing, and even temporary blindness. So, it was kind of an early non-lethal weapon, but still not exactly legal. So, why was sneezing gas actually banned? Well, it was considered a form of chemical warfare that fell outside the Geneva rules. Soldiers caught carrying these gas capsules without, explicit authorization could face some pretty serious legal consequences. Many commanders were really worried about the potential for misuse, especially during interrogations. These days, most chemical irritants used offensively are illegal under the Chemical Weapons Convention. Even if someone tries to claim self-defense, possession of military-grade chemicals is actually illegal in almost every country. The so-called pillbox gambling kit might seem pretty harmless compared to, say, knives or gas capsules, but gambling was actually a major disciplinary issue during World War II. Soldiers sometimes lost their pay, their equipment, and honestly, even their will to fight. These illegal pillbox kits usually held things like mini dice, hidden playing cards, metal betting tokens, and even smuggling compartments. So, why was gambling actually banned? Well, it caused fights, theft, and, honestly, some pretty serious morale problems among the troops. Commanders even considered it a destruction of military discipline. And, repeat offenders could be court-martialed. These days, gambling itself isn't really illegal, but gambling inside military facilities or while on duty actually violates regulations in most modern armed forces, and it can still lead to punishment. Unauthorized radio receivers, sometimes called pocket spy radios, were a thing too. Some soldiers, especially those in the Signal Corps, secretly built these tiny radio receivers to pick up banned broadcasts. That could mean foreign propaganda, music, or even coded transmissions. So, why were unauthorized radios banned? Well, listening to enemy broadcasts was actually treated as treason in a lot of countries. Unauthorized radios could, accidentally reveal troop positions through signal leakage. Plus, some of these radios were even used for smuggling intel. If you got caught with one, the consequences could be pretty severe, like equipment seizure, imprisonment, court-martial, and in extreme cases even execution, especially if it was tied to espionage. Even today, unauthorized interception of encrypted or military communications is still a criminal offense pretty much everywhere. Certain frequency scanners and spy devices are just banned outright, no questions asked. Incendiary fire tabs and banned explosive add-ons were a real thing. These were basically tiny pads soaked in highly flammable chemicals. Soldiers would use them to ignite structures, burn documents, or just create chaos behind enemy lines. The problem was, some folks made their own hotter versions using stuff like gasoline gels, phosphorus, or even artillery propellant. So, here's the thing. Fire tabs were banned because they were honestly extremely dangerous and completely unpredictable. They actually caused accidental fires in barracks and supply depots, which, as you can imagine, was a huge problem. Plus, using them violated regulations on unauthorized explosives. Nowadays, possession of unauthorized incendiaries is still totally illegal and, yeah, it definitely violates military law. For civilians, having these kinds of things is banned under arson and explosives regulations. Blackjack saps and weighted slapper gloves. These small leather impact weapons were honestly devastating. A sap or slapper could break bones, knock out an enemy silently, and even cause fatal brain injury with just a single blow. While some officers quietly approved their use in special missions, most militaries strictly prohibited them. So, why were these weapons banned? Well, they were considered unnecessarily brutal, even for war. They really had no defensive purpose, just offensive ambush use. In fact, soldiers caught using them were often court-martialed for assault or misconduct. Even today, blackjacks and saps are illegal for civilian carry in much of the world, mostly because of their lethality and, how easy they are to conceal. So, looking at the bigger picture, why were these items forbidden? Despite all the chaos of war, World War II militaries understood one important truth: uncontrolled, unauthorized weapons made soldiers unpredictable, and honestly, dangerous to their own side. These items were banned to, protect discipline. They also help maintain legal accountability, prevent war crimes and reduce friendly fire incidents. Plus, they play a role in controlling the psychological toll of violence. What's really remarkable is just how many of these restrictions carried forward into modern law. Even in 2025, these objects still represent the thin line between soldiering and vigilantism. Final thoughts. War often, blurs the rules, but militaries have always tried to keep soldiers within boundaries, even in, the deadliest conflict in human history. These banned World War II items remind us that every army fights two battles, one against the enemy and one against chaos from within.